my gut.
All right. What's up, everyone? This is Jonathan.
Nick.
Yep. We are the Gosslings. And this is just sort of our initial test run for, we've been thinking about doing maybe a stream, 20, 30 minutes, maybe once a month, just sort of talk about our various book ideas and what we have going on. I have my Heavenly Realms books that you can get on Amazon. And then, Nick has, gosh, you have a bunch of stuff, man. You have your Travelers League series.
Middle grade series, yeah.
Yeah. How many books do you have in that?
So I have, it's a 5-book middle grade series. So ages 8 to 12. It's fantasy. And then I have one, it's published, and one young adult paranormal urban fantasy that just came out as well.
Henry Half Moon. And that's
my favorite.
That's got really good feedback.
Yeah, so far so good.
Well, and that's part of the new thing that you've started called the Fringe Mythology.
Yeah.
And that, let's see, you got the Facebook page for that.
Yep.
Right?
Yep. Facebook Fringe Myth, facebook.com/Fringe Myth. And that is a page dedicated towards cryptids, the paranormal, conspiracy theories. So the book, I started the page because I wanted a platform to really promote books that fall into those veins. And so I had to write the book. And so I wrote Henry Half Moon, which is very paranormal. It ties in fallen angels, end times, conspiracies, Greek mythology, the Nephilim from Scripture, from the Bible. It's wild.
It's so hot right now.
It's so hot right now.
It's the derelict of of indie publishing. Well, and it's gotten really good feedback. It's sort of an urban fantasy kind of thing.
Yeah, urban paranormal fantasy, and it's really more of a passion project for me because the young adult, the middle grade fantasy series for kids I wrote because
the
Travelers League.
Yeah,
I wrote that because that came from just a story I was telling my son. At night that he really got into, and my wife saw how into it he was getting. He's like, why don't you write this down and make it a kid's book? So I did. And that was really the first thing I ever wrote. And so I wrote this whole series, and I thought, man, I think I might want to see if I can write, because I'm a new writer. So I thought maybe I should write for a slightly older audience, not quite adult, because I'm not really, not that full of myself. But I thought maybe a young adult.
He's not. He's
you've been doing it for like a decade. You've been doing it for like a decade, though. So you're a much better writer. You've literally written 10 times as much as I have. But I wanted to write something for a young adult. And so it was a passion project for me. And it was kind of cool because it's in first person and it's first person present.
Yeah.
So it's his thoughts and words as they're happening.
Yeah.
So that was, it turned out to be.
That's
really
a big
fun.
challenge because like the Travelers League is third person, sort of like your standard third person. Your
voice.
Classic, sort of Hobbit, Narnia kind of Harry Potter sort of vibe.
Mm-hmm.
But then
it's way better than Harry Potter.
Like
100% better.
Really cool.
Don't even bother.
Yeah. Well, and what I love about the Travelers League is the purity of its origin. Like, it's not like you decided you wanted to make a bunch of money and then you researched what was cool or what was trending and then decided to write the books. It's like, no, it came from a place of real purity where it literally started as bedtime stories for your kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's how Logos works, right? It's just like, there's something greater than the sum of its parts that sort of, stems up from that and is cultivated from that. And man, you got at least 5 books out of it, right?
Yeah, got 5 books out of it. Yeah, and Christian was 8 too. So Christian was 8 and really I was, put him to bed just like a lot of parents do. They read to their kids, bedtime to get them sleepy. Yeah. To try to get them to fall asleep. And
so you can watch half an episode of Deadwood before you go to bed.
Exactly.
Or Yellowstone.
Right.
Yeah.
Which, oh my God. So those are so
we
great.
can talk about
oh my God, that's a whole series of videos I could go into. But I was, Christian, said, Dad, don't read against her. Can you just make something up? Let's make something up together.
Really?
And so I said, okay. So I came up with this idea of a timepiece that takes this boy who's obviously going to be the same age as my son, because that's what you do when you make up a story you're telling to your kids.
Right.
The main character is basically them.
Yeah.
So the boy in the story finds this mysterious timepiece, and every time he sets it to a different hour, it takes him to a different fantasy world.
Yeah.
And so I set it to 1 o'clock, and I told him what happened to the character when he set it to 1 o'clock. He's magically transported to this world, and of course, half an hour, 45 minutes into making up this world and trying to get him to fall asleep, I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm freaking tired. I need to go to bed. So
Right,
I said, okay, that's all that happened in World 1. I'll tell you about the 2 o'clock world tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, you can't. You got to finish something. No. 2 o'clock world tomorrow. Got to go to bed. So the next night we figured out what would happen in a 2 o'clock world and what that fantasy world would look like. And so we got like a week into this, and he was so into it that he would forego going over to spend the night at my mother-in-law's house.
Oh, really?
Where he's allowed to just
do whatever
video games until he throws up, basically. Because he doesn't play video games at our house.
Right.
And so he's like, no, I don't want to go to Mimi's house. I don't want to go to Mimi's house. I want to stay here tonight and hear what happens in the next part of the story. And when he said that, my wife's like, hey, maybe that's how you know you're on to something. Yeah, and I didn't, because I'm pretty thick. And so, but my wife said, maybe you should think about turning some kid's story, because he's really into it. So it really came from his interests and just feeding off of that. And I sat down and I wrote out the story and went through the process of like learning how to, find an editor and make it worthy of, putting it out there.
Oh, yeah.
Went through the whole process of figuring out how to self-publish, and got hooked on all of that. And when I got to the last chapter of the first book, I realized, wow, there's a lot more story I can write. So it turned into a 5-book series.
Yeah, well, that's usually how it works. Is you get to the end and you type like the 2 most coveted words for a burgeoning author, the end.
Yeah.
Period. And then you're like, you think that's like the apotheosis. You think that's like the crescendo, the zenith, the mountaintop. But all it does is when you get to that mountaintop, you see that there's now unfolded before you in Mysterion-like quality, just a whole mountain range of other mountains to climb, and each one of them is another book. And before you know it, you have 5 books.
Yeah, and I was super corny about that whole thing too. I'm a cheesy guy.
Dude, cheese is awesome.
The very first iteration
of
the book, when I typed the end at the end of the first book, I literally added a question mark. Okay? That's how cheesy
like
I
the
am.
end of Flash Gordon.
That did not make it into the final version.
You should have done the end,
I'm an 80s kid. I'm
and then
super
ellipsis
cheesy.
question mark. We've all had that moment.
I'm embarrassed.
Dude, I do it. I do it in mine because in mine it let's see. You want to talk about cheese? Mine said, well, there's a typo here, but mine says unend. It doesn't even say I don't think any of my books really say the end. They all kind of as I'm totally guilty of that, 100%. So there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But that's how you've kind of hit on something that's unique and fun and worthwhile. Yeah. And then what's even better is when you get on the other side of all that publishing, after you've done the legwork with the editor, after you've done all the work with the cover artist, you go through that rigmarole, which is
about that.
Yeah, we could have a whole series on cover artist author relationship.
We should. We totally should.
It'd probably be therapeutic, to be honest with you.
It'd help a lot of authors out there.
Just on what to expect and the time dilation,
or what not to expect.
Yeah, or what not to expect with the alternate dimension of time displacement that cover artists tend to exist in. But when you get to the other end of that, and then you publish it, and then you start to see not just the reviews that are good, but the positive feedback that you get from, you get your positive feedback from your support group, your tribe, your family, your friends. But then when kids are coming up to you at church, with the book, and then when you're in the paper,
Yeah,
you
that
know?
was cool.
Like, I mean, there are a lot of like really cool moments that it lets you know, it validates that you're on a worthy road.
Yeah.
You know, to keep going, and there's nothing wrong with like following that vein. Although it's almost like your responsibility at that point.
And I got to say this about being in the paper. That was just total vanity for me.
Wait, whatever.
But way cooler than that was when the little girl at church walked up.
That is pretty cool.
Oh, hey, I read your book.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mr. Goss, I read your book. I said, oh, good. Thank you. I'm glad you read it. And she goes, yeah, actually, it wasn't that bad.
Is that really what you said?
No. She said that. No, actually, it was pretty good. Like she was expecting something completely different because she knew me from church.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, like a little 8-year-old or 7-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it would be like.
It made me feel good though.
It was better than Go Dog Go.
Her expectations were exceeded, and that's all.
Hey, you know what? That's your audience. So as long as you're happy and
actually pretty good.
Yes.
Oh, great.
Cool.
I'm gonna go worship the Lord now.
Yeah, out of the mouths of babes.
Right.
Yeah. So there's nothing wrong with that. But what's been really fascinating is like I struggled to get published for probably 15 years. I started writing the Heavenly Realms novels in like 99, and then spent 10 years writing and then trying to get published. Couldn't get published, through traditional publishing means. No one wanted to touch them. I gave up on it for probably 5-7 years.
Yeah. And
then this ding dong comes along out of nowhere and just is like, hey, by the way, I wrote and published a book. I'm like, what? What do you mean you wrote and published a book? And then I read it and it's like, this isn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Who knew?
Who knew? Yeah, who knew? Like this guy, out of nowhere, Nick is like the sneaky, he's like the assassin, the ninja who sneaks up, and then all of a sudden it just
the Black Mamba
shuriken, right in your back. And
well, in all fairness, though, when you were writing, you have such a heavy body of work, and when you were writing it, traditional publishing was really the only option.
Yeah,
self-publishing really had come to the foreground as an option.
Yeah.
For authors.
That's true.
There hadn't been anybody who'd self-published with any success.
Anyways.
And Amazon hadn't begun catering to the self-published author.
Right. Yeah.
So you didn't have the opportunity. You had already done the work, though.
Yeah, but the great thing about it is I had given up hope. I had just said, "There's no way this isn't going to work." Whatever, and then I turn around and not only has he written something, but he's published it, and it's like all of a sudden hope springs eternal, but watching not just the Travelers League become popular, but also being on the ground floor process of brainstorming, because we get together pretty much every Sunday night and we do this, we hang out, and we just have fun
for about 2 years now, almost.
Yeah, about 2 years. Yep. And watching the brainstorming process, and watching that turn into Henry Half Moon was really cool, because it was, it's one thing to write a middle grade, sort of children's story series, which for me is impossible. I can't do it. So my hat's off to him in the first place for being able to do it.
Just don't swear.
Just don't swear. Yeah. See, I'm already out.
No sexing.
Yeah. Well, that's fine. Yeah. I saved that for the other stuff.
But violence is okay.
I saved that for the ghostwriting. Yeah, violence is okay. Come on. This is a Bible belt. You can be violent, just no dirty words and no boobs. But then watching not only watching Nick change genres and change audience within genres, which are not the same thing, but also change perspective, change the voice.
Yeah.
From third person omniscient to first person.
Well, and that was something that you had actually mentioned. I don't know, and you might not even remember that, but you made the suggestion it'd be cool if you were, and I said I was thinking about writing it in a different voice instead of the classic third person past. He did this, then he said this, and then she said that. We were talking about different voices. And I thought, I suggested, John, I was thinking about this, young adult thing and maybe doing it in a different voice. And I was thinking about first person present. So you're with him, and you kind of gave me the pros and cons of that.
No,
and
okay.
said for that character, that actually be pretty good based on what he's going through with the paranormal and supernatural and crossing over and then coming back and just what that feels like. You said that would probably be very cool. So I kind of ran with it for a couple of chapters, and I couldn't stop doing it.
I know, right?
Once you start writing once I started writing in the first person present, I couldn't stop. It was so fun because honestly, Henry Half Moon is me.
Yeah.
And it's just so easy to do. And it's almost like cheating.
Yeah.
And people love it because I think they're like, now they know my thoughts.
Right.
Now they know what I really think about
Now
them.
we know how cynical you are on the inside.
Oh,
yeah, that's right.
Horrible
how
cynical.
Bitterly jaded Nick
truly
is.
I'm working on it. I pray every day.
Well,
God, please save me from myself.
Right, yeah. I wonder how much of, I didn't think about that really being like an analog for you. And now that I'm looking back on it, I'm like, I wonder how much of that was like Lee University.
Maybe.
Yeah. A lot of voices of Lee in.
Yeah. What's really hard is now I'm writing like
Nick's college days.
I'm writing a second book for that audience kind of.
Oh, that's right.
It's not a follow-up to Henry Half Moon, but it has some of the same characters and it's kind of different. But I'm saying, I started writing it and it's first person present, but it's a different character, and that's really hard.
Yeah,
because it's almost like as I'm writing it, I have to pretend to be someone else.
Yeah, dude, that is tough.
So I might change it. I don't know. I just started the book, so I can have a lot of flexibility. I haven't committed to anything.
It's not bad to stick with the same. It definitely increases your. Like Jerry Jenkins told me that one time. Like don't change your voice. Within a series, and of course that's for anybody who's read the Emily Rome series. I obviously didn't listen to that, but but it's not bad advice. Because really, and for anybody who doesn't know, like Jerry Jenkins is one of the guys who wrote the Left Behind series with Tim LaHaye. So a guy,
huge.
He at least knows what he's talking about from being a successful book seller.
Or you could just read the Bible.
Yeah, or you could just read
different
the Bible.
voice.
Yeah, whichever.
It's the voice of truth. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. But like having the same voice, having that first person perspective really does make a difference as far as like it's an easy transition for both you and the audience. And like you're able to tell the same things that you need to tell while staying within the same framework. And I don't know, it really does make it more accessible for everybody. The only thing that sucks about it is sometimes you realize like this story doesn't need to be in first person. Like the story really, maybe it involves too many characters, or because like the problem you run into with first person is the limitation of scope and information. So like instead of third person where you just have everybody's point of view, everybody's thoughts, you have access to everything.
Yeah.
Now in first person, especially first person present, which is especially difficult. And I don't think I've ever actually attempted first person present. It's always been reminiscent for me, like with Gates of Fire, like with Tides of War, or not Tides of War.
Is Gates of Fire in first person?
It is. It's in first person reminiscent. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so is Tides of War, his follow up,
and then. Long time since I read that. It's great though.
But he did the same thing that Stephen Pressfield he did the same thing that you might do.
Hats off to Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah. Tip of the hat to Stephen Pressfield, the guru, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
But he did a follow-up book to The Virtues of War called The Afghan Campaign. And it was from the point of view of just a normal foot soldier in the Macedonian army during the long and arduous campaign in Afghanistan, which is notorious because Alexander the Great, it's the only time Alexander the Great didn't conquer through force of arms. He ended up, he spent 2.5 years in Bactria, modern day Afghanistan. And so it's this very interesting time period. He did first person, just like he had done with all of his other books. However, the difference was the tone of the voice was different because the book before that was written very audaciously from the perspective of Alexander the Great himself. And it worked, weirdly enough. And then in like the Afghan campaign, he changed up and now it's just the voice of just the standard Macedonian soldier, a Mac, as they call him. And you could tell the difference. He had a more rudimentary style of speech. You know, he didn't use the same kind of lofty, educated, philosophical language. It was really cool. It's something very different, but it's not easy to do. And I could tell that it took a lot of work because at that point I'd been writing for probably 10 years. So I knew, so it's doable, to stay with first person, but you do have to figure out who is this new character, how does he think? How does he talk? He can't be like the other character. It can't just be me on the page.
Yeah.
And that becomes a real challenge. It's an extra layer of challenge to it. But I'm excited. We went to the Bigfoot Museum as part of research.
North Georgia.
We were
absolutely Expedition Bigfoot.
Sasquatch
Bigfoot Museum. Gotta go.
Super cool.
It's in Cherry Log, Georgia.
That is so much fun. We took Christian.
So great. Yeah, took our son, my son.
It was a real adventure. It was like the best $13 I've spent, in a long time. It was awesome.
I'm a believer. Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
On record.
Yeah.
I'm a believer.
Our eldest brother is giving us the eye.
He's over there on the couch watching.
He's just like, I can't believe I'm related to these.
Eye rolls and lipsmax.
Yep.
I'm used to it.
He's like, I'm just going to take a nap. I can't, how do I get out of here? So, well, this is pretty cool. What do you have coming up?
I just finished writing, I just started a new middle grade series.
Okay.
Called Hacker Jack.
Oh, that's right, Hacker Jack.
And it's more sci-fi, video games, coding, spying, and it's for that 8 to 12 range. And it's a sibling. The protagonists are a brother-sister pair.
Yeah.
Based on my son and daughter, and they helped me come up with a lot of this, but especially my son because he loves video games. And the first book's coming out. Hacker Jack should be coming out soon. I'm waiting on the cover, which I should have within a week.
Nice.
The goal is to get that out by holidays. My daughter helped me write a 6th book to the Travelers League series, kind of a side story.
Right.
Called The Mermicorn.
Mm-hmm.
She actually wrote it.
Yeah.
I just reworded it and filled in, put some more dialogue and stuff in it, but she came up with the actual plot and characters and everything. And so that's done. So that'll be the next thing that we actually publish. And then right now I'm writing the 2nd Fringe Mythology book.
Audiobooks?
I have Henry Half Moon, the young adult
urban fiction.
the paranormal
mythology.
That one is an audiobook now, which is great. I have promo codes for anyone who wants to. If you want to download it for free, I have a few promo codes left. If you want to leave a review, that'd be even better.
Where can they find that information?
Amazon. Just type in Henry Half Moon on Amazon, and it'll take you right to it.
Awesome.
Or if you want to email me at Nick the Goss, that's great too.
The one and only.
At gmail.com.
Yeah.
Nick the Goss, gmail.com. I'll send you a promo code.
And we're working on a website. We're probably going to formulate a website here pretty soon that we could probably just use as a repository. There's a lot of stuff up in the air. So
or go to Nick Goss Writes on Facebook or Fringe Mythology on Facebook and just direct message me and I'll hook you up.
Awesome.
I'll hook you up if you're interested. If you commute and you want to listen to an audiobook on your commute, it's perfect.
Yeah. And you have audiobooks for Travelers League?
Yep, for the first 2 books of the Travelers League. And I need to get on, finding a narrator for book 3. But the first 2 are in the can, and published in live. So
let's see. You got that. If they wanted to, what's the travel? You just started the Travelers League YouTube channel, right?
Yes, yeah. So if you go to YouTube and just search Travelers League, my kids and I are putting together a series of fun videos to talk about the books, but also just to do a lot of fun things together that the kids have in mind.
It's pretty cute.
They've always wanted to be YouTube stars, so
yeah.
I'm gonna.
They got the making.
Probably fail them in making that happen, but
nah.
I can create a channel.
You just wind them up. You just wind, especially Eva May. You just wind her up and just let her go, and off she goes.
My daughter is always in a world of her own. She's amazing.
Yeah, they're adorable.
It's hilarious.
So cool, man. Well,
thank you, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jonathan,
Nick,
we are the Gosslings. And this was a cool little test run for what we think might be at least a once a month thing.
At least, yeah.
We'll probably stage it up from there as we go, and we'll see about maybe wrangling some other Goss brothers in on this if we can get a hold of them.
Absolutely, and we might do some of these videos from my place.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So okay, cool. Well, we're gonna go. I'm gonna have us all drink scotch and smoke a cigar. So we'll see you later. Bye.
Cheers. You
See
gotta
everyone.
go. We're out.
Yeah, we're out. Goodbye.